Welcome to the Daily Devo. My name is Diana. Today we are talking about what Jesus accomplished and what he did right after that. The book of Hebrews is reminding Christians who Jesus is, what Jesus is like, and why we should hold back onto our faith. Today's verse, it's going to tell us about the work that Jesus accomplished. Listen to the whole verse, but let's pay special attention, close attention to the ending of Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3. It says, "The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being, sustaining all things by his powerful word. After he had provided purification for sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty in heaven." It's said that after Jesus provided purification for sin, Jesus sat down at the right hand of the Majesty, which is God in heaven. After, it said. You see, it's telling us what Jesus accomplished and what he did after. This might help. You know how when a sports team wins a major competition, the coverage usually keeps broadcasting? This is different than a regular season game that usually abruptly ends as soon as the clock runs out. Well, in a major competition like the World Cup finals or the Super Bowl or the NBA finals, the broadcast shows the players celebrating and receiving the trophy and giving speeches. And in the days to follow, many places continue to publish what these athletes do. How they go to Disney with their family, or they host a parade in their home country or their home city. We learn about their accomplishment and we see what they do after that accomplishment. In a way, this is what our verse is talking about. It's telling us what Jesus accomplished and then what he did shortly after that accomplishment. Well, what did Jesus do? Jesus provided purification for sins. You see, John 19:30, Jesus declared on the cross when he was dying, he said, "It is finished," before he breathed his last. Well, he was declaring that the need for sacrifice, for the separation that sin creates between people and God, it was finally and perfectly completed and accounted for in Jesus. Remember, the Old Testament, the temple sacrifice system, it was God's way to temporarily deal with the sin of people. Things like grain offerings, dove offerings, or livestock offerings. In Jesus, though, the sin debt was paid in full. You see, it was accomplished, full purification. Jesus, he accomplished full purification for all sins for anyone who chose to believe and receive from him. And then today's verse tells us what Jesus did next. It says that he sat down at the right hand of the Father in heaven, that Jesus is restored to perfect communion with the Father. And in Christ, we too are experiencing the blessing of their restored relationship. Jesus was the pure and perfect sacrifice for sin. Do you believe that today? Do you believe that what Jesus already accomplished with his life, death, and resurrection was the full purification for your sin? And for your neighbor's sin, if they choose to believe and receive? Full purification. This is not partial. It's not like a dirty car that goes into a car wash and comes out with dirty spots missing and the interior that's still a mess. Not at all. In Christ, there is full forgiveness, washed white as snow. Today, I just want you to ponder this simple truth that Jesus provided full purification from sin and that Jesus is seated next to the Father. That Jesus accomplished much. And my question for you is, do you believe that you are fully forgiven? Not partially forgiven, not tolerated, but in Christ you too have been fully restored back into relationship with God. There is no JV team, there is no second-class Jesus follower. Would you believe the fullness of what Christ accomplished? And would you believe the nearness that in Christ you too are seated next to God? Let's ponder these things together.